Good morning, fellow geographers of IB13. I'm now going to flip the classroom, which means I'm going to let you in on the information before the lesson, and during the class you'll be continue working on what I have introduced today. In order to make sense of the world, you need to make the divisions, even though Hans Rosling is not particularly happy about that fact. But I'm going to let you in on a few things just to make it easier. You can divide them into MDCs, or more economically developed countries, which are also known as Western countries or Northern European countries, or the First World. Has been divided in many ways. The North-South Divide was something that Willy Brandt, the former Chancellor of Germany, discussed, or West Germany as a matter of fact, where he made a division between the developed, rich North and the underdeveloped, poor South. Of course, with the error here being Australia and New Zealand, which was actually part of the developed North. That's the division that he made. In this map, not the entire Europe is included in MDCs, which in most cases they are, including Russia. So, but there are of course many different views on what is considered to be MDCs. But we are using that definition as well, including Europe as well. Okay. Secondly, there's something called LEDCs, less economically developed countries, and basically they're the rest. I'm not entirely happy with this division because they have not included Russia. I'll let you in on that very soon. Why? But here, the South. Starting in the West with Mexico and South America, Africa, Asia, and the parts of Oceania, which is not Australia and New Zealand. That was not enough. We know that from Hans Rosling, and we know that for a fact that there are countries, as I said, this map includes Russia into LDCs, which I wouldn't do. So how do we solve this problem? It's by something called emerging economies or emerging markets. Countries that can't be said to be either MDCs or LDCs, or instead something in between. I'm not entirely happy with this map either. We have countries here in Africa which can be, it's tricky to say that there would be emerging markets. We have a set of countries called the BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and South Africa, the BRICS countries, which is said to be making up a large proportion of the population in emerging markets. But as I said, we have 6 to 7 countries on the fastest growing economies originating from Africa. So things are changing, it's changing rapidly. So division made into MDCs, LEDCs, and emerging markets. That was the first part. The second part, which is the main focus of this flipped classroom, is something called population structure. In order to really grasp the idea of population structure, trying to predict what will happen in the future, and also try to describe what happened in the past, we are using something called a population pyramid. And that's how you divide, how you show a population structure in one diagram. And population structure is really to describing the population according to age, gender, ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status, and marital status. And of course you can make all sorts of division when it comes to a population. I've showed you a graph here, a bar graph of foreign-born population in Sweden. So a multicultural society, that's one way of describing the population structure of Sweden. We are going to focus not on that now. We're going to focus on age and gender. But there are different ways of dividing a population, of course, and here's one. But if you look at population structure, it changes due to age, births, deaths, migration, social environment, and economic conditions. These are all things that decide the population structure of a country. So for instance, of course, the most common is age. People are born, people die. And that is of course the natural increase or the natural decrease of a population. Then of course people move in or out of the country, in migration or out migration. That has also an effect on population structure. Social, environmental, and economic conditions could be that they of course decide in how many babies a young couple decide to have, the way that view the opportunities in the future. Can we afford to have another child or a first child? As I mentioned, somewhere between 1 and 1.5 million will you guys have cost your parents until you're 18 years old. This population structure, the makeup of the population, has implications for the future growth, economic development, and social policy of the country. Of course, if you will have more kids, that will have a large implication for future developments of the country. Where the government decide to spend their money. I'm getting back to that a lot later on, but of course it's very, very important to try to predict what will happen in the future. It's one of the most important tools that any government has to use, is a population pyramid, to try to predict what will happen in the future, but also looking back what happened in the past, because much can be learned from the past as well. The population structure in the future, as I said, can be used to predict short-term and long-term changes in the population. It doesn't need to have a guessing game, because the government can't afford to guess about what will happen in the future. They need to have a tool, and a population pyramid is a very popular and very good method. A population pyramid is firstly divided into two parts. On the left hand side it's male, and the right hand side it's female. So you divide it. It's a bar graph divided in two parts, a male on the left and a female on the right. Secondly, it's divided into age, and you divide them into 5-year cohorts. So 5-year age groups, 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, 15 to 19, etc., etc. And you give that as a percentage of the total population. So here you have that males make up almost 2%, between 5 and 9, sorry, 0 to 4, they make up roughly 2% of the population. No, it's populations in millions, sorry. In most cases they use percentage, but not in this case. 2 million people, sorry, my mistake. In most cases you use a percentage. There are 4 main types of population pyramids. I will go through them one by one, but of course the two first, they are pyramids. They look like pyramids. The third and fourth type are not especially pyramid-like. This is the first one. It's a population pyramid of a developing country in stage 1. It's safe to say that this is a poor country, a developing country, where you have, or LEDC, where you have very, very high birth rates, you have high death rates, you have very short life expectancy. So this is definitely a country where you have a rapidly increasing population. Even though the high death rate will of course also could lead to a decrease in population, but the numbers are very often very, very high. You're looking at, for instance, Nigeria with a total fertility rate of 7 kids per woman. So in most cases, a rapidly increasing population. The population pyramid type 2 is also a developing country, but a country that is going through some economic development. You can see that there is still a very, very high birth rate. It's a very broad-based pyramid. But you can see that the CDRs, the crude death rates, are falling. And the life expectancy is increasing. So people are getting older and older. the cohorts of the age groups higher up are getting broader and broader, which means that people are living longer. So you do see some development in healthcare, in medicines, and in schoolings. You would see probably a better focus on women and women's health. In population pyramid 3, we are looking at the emerging economy. For instance, the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, where you have a declining CBR, it's crude birth rate. It's births per 1,000 of the population in a year. So a birth rate where it's going down, as you can see in the base, it's getting more and more narrow. You also have a lower crude death rate. People do not die at the same extent and they live longer, which means that you have even more focus on health, on schooling, on family planning programs, and a better focus on women. Pretty safe to say. And finally then, the population pyramid of a developed country, stage 4, is no longer a concave shaped pyramid, it's a convex shaped pyramid. You have low CBRs, low crude birth rates, you have low crude death rates, and you have a long life expectancy. And you can see at the very top of the pyramid as well, you see that it's sticking out because women live longer. Yeah, that was about it. This was the first step of trying to flip the classroom. I'll be back with more. Have a look at this film, and we'll continue working on population pyramids tomorrow. See you tomorrow.